everyone. How are you doing? Welcome to our virtual town hall meeting. My name is Ellison, and I am running for the United States House of Representatives to represent Florida's 17th Congressional District. I wanted to have this town hall so that we can connect, find out about the issues, and discuss what's going on inside of District 17. Since the coronavirus hit, we haven't been able to go about business as usual. We haven't been able to knock on doors and canvass. We haven't been able to go to the churches and speak with ministers and churchgoers. And we haven't been able to raise funds in the traditional ways that we've been able to raise funds in the past. So this is a way that we can connect using digital technology and platforms to be able to understand where we are inside of this congressional district, where we are in the state, and where we are in this country. And so we're going to discuss who I am, why I'm running, and how policy affects you. We're going to have questions from the audience. Some people have already sent in their questions, and we're going to read from some of those and hopefully get you the answers and get this district on a new path forward. A little bit about me. I grew up in Hardin County, which is in the centermost part of Florida. I was born in Highlands County. I went to college in Polk County at Florida Southern College, where I got my degree in political science. And when I was growing up, there were things that happened along the way that kind of shaped my perspective and why I'm running for Congress. One of the things that I remember growing up was the fact that in my community, we had garbage pickup services in various parts of the other communities, but we didn't have garbage pickup in my community, even though our community got charged for it. For over 20 years, it was that way. Right now, in that same community, there are people that are paying as much as $2,000, $3,000, and $4,000 a month for contaminated water. There are people in surrounding counties that are faced with all types of issues, dealing with the coronavirus fallout, dealing with blue-green algae, red tide, algae blooms in Lake Okeechobee. There are migrant farmers that are afraid to go to work. We have a congressman in this district that just literally voted against the corona funding bill that would help millions of people across the country. And so some of the issues that affect me and my family and the people that I know inside of this district, it's not a good thing. And so we're going to talk about these issues tonight. But before we do that, I'm going to give you a little background about myself. So I grew up in Hardin County, and I worked in the orange groves with migrant workers. I did some car washing with my uncle at my uncle's car wash on the weekends. And I picked up a love for cutting other people's hair. At first, I wasn't very good at it. In fact, I took the money that I made from washing cars to pay kids in the neighborhood to let me cut their hair. Now, you can't expect me to be that good because I was only 11 at the time. But 8 years later, I ended up going to school at Florida Southern College, or South Florida State College, which it was South Florida Community College at the time, but now it's a state college. And I got my certification in cosmetology. And I continued to cut hair. I cut hair in Polk County for the next 10 years. During that time, I met my wife. Together we have a beautiful daughter, Alana. And then, I continued to go back to school, went back to school for political science. And I got a very good understanding about how our government works, or how it should work. And so now that I am finished with political science, I'm still cutting hair, have a salon. I'm a business owner in Highlands County. We have the salon, Ellison Salon and Spa, and we are affected by this coronavirus fallout. And so throughout my life, I've been helping people along the way, helping them with the knowledge that I've learned in government, helping them with the skills that I've learned along the way, learning about people inside of the barbershop arena, learning about the issues that are at stake. and just really understanding that we are really all in this together. And so one of the things that I've learned is that in this massive district, the District of 17, there are 9 counties. And in each one of these counties, there are issues that are unique to each county. And the things that I've learned is that most people, as they deal with the issues in these counties, most people don't feel like they have a voice on those issues in Congress. And this is one of the main reasons that I'm running for this seat. I'm running because for too long we have had congressmen in this district that have represented their own interests or the interests of parties and played politics over people. And right now people are really fed up with that. We have a congressman in this district that is literally fighting against the EPA, trying to dismantle the EPA, even though we have a massive ecology problem in the state of Florida. When I was growing up, Lake Okeechobee was something to be proud of. It was one of Florida's marvels. It was one of the things that I guess put Florida on the map. Today, Lake Okeechobee is known as Pollution Lake. And it's a shame that members of Congress and members of the executive have overlooked the pollution problem. Right now in this county, we have members of the migrant world that are literally afraid to go to work out of fear of deportation. We need a comprehensive immigration system that will reward people for their hard work. We need a system that will create a clear path to citizenship. It is a shame that American-born children in this country are thrown into foster care systems that is already stressed out, and taxpayers have to flip that burden because of a failed immigration system. We need to do more, and I believe that we can do better, and this is one of the reasons that I'm running for office. I remember during Christmas, I was watching my daughter open up one of her gifts, and I was very happy that she was experiencing the gift that she felt that Santa brought her. And I was happy to see her open that up. But immediately after that, I started thinking about the babies that were living in cages, away from their parents. I began to think about the amount of stress that these poor souls are under. I started thinking about the dendrites in the brain, how the stress has deteriorated the dendrites, which is responsible for long-term memory, and how we as a society and our broken immigration system is tearing families apart and causing future problems with PTSD and other stressors that are going to have long-term negative physical effects on these children. Again, I say that we can do better. When I think about the fact that small businesses in this community are shutting down, and small businesses across the state and small businesses across the country are shutting down because of the coronavirus. When I think about the fact that people are literally getting laid off and furloughed, and some people completely fired, and the jobs are diminishing, there are people that are going to have to face some very tough decisions this month and the months coming after. I want everyone to know that there are literally members of Congress that are fighting against you. There are people fighting to make sure that you don't get the resources that you desperately need. And that's why this election cycle is going to be one of the most important election cycles in the history of the United States, because there are literally so many issues that are at stake. And so when you go to the booths to vote this year, or if we don't have booths to go to and you have to vote at home, make sure you vote. But when you vote this year, make sure you understand who in leadership was looking out for your interests. You see, this campaign, the Ellison for Congress campaign, it has a very simple platform. The platform is about improving the quality of life for everyone, not just a select few, and not just for special interest groups, but for everyone. And what that looks like is very comprehensive. It means that we're going to do everything in our power to protect our environment. It means that we're going to hold the EPA accountable, but make sure they have the resources they need to keep us safe, keep our environment clean, keep our air clean, and keep our water clean. We don't need to get rid of the EPA, but the congressman in this district, that is exactly what he's trying to do. And see, we want to make sure that he's not in office to dismantle the EPA. We want to make sure that our seniors are protected, that they have the best quality health care, the best access to health care possible. Right now, we have members of Congress that are literally trying to dismantle our healthcare system as we know it without having a responsible replacement in place. We have members of our community that are living with disabilities. Right now in America, there is over 61 million Americans living with a disability. And for every American that's living with a disability, there is at least one caretaker or one nurse, someone that is looking after that person. So that number goes up by 120 million people that are negatively or directly and indirectly affected. We want to make sure that their disability benefits are protected. In 2016, we had members of Congress that literally tried to reduce disability payouts by 20%. Now, I don't know if you know anybody on disability, but I know a lot of people on disability. And disability people are not getting rich off of disability. The payments that most recipients are receiving are the bare minimum. They're barely getting by, having a very hard time trying to make ends meet. So we don't need to reduce disability payouts by 20%. In fact, we probably need to increase disability benefits to those recipients. Another problem with the disability program is that most people that desperately need the benefits are constantly being denied, and sometimes being denied as many as 3 times over the course of years. And by the time they do get disability benefits, their lives are in shambles financially. So we need leadership who understands these issues, who understand where the people come from, and how to write policy that positively improves the quality of life for these individuals. If you live on Social Security, then you know that members of Congress are constantly trying to attack Social Security benefits and utilize those funds for other things that are outside of the disability or outside of the Social Security spectrum. We need to protect Social Security, because when you've worked all of your life, the last thing you need is for somebody to bother with your Social Security benefits. We need to protect those. And right now in this country, there are millions of Americans that are just trying to get through this coronavirus pandemic. We have members of the administration that is putting out misinformation. Some of them are putting out disinformation, and it is causing a great deal of confusion. I want everyone under the sound of my voice to understand that this pandemic is real. This is not some government test. This is not some Chinese bug that only existed in China. This is something that has been around for a very long time. And if you understand anything about biology, this virus has mutated and it has gotten stronger. It has gotten strong enough to the point where we don't have a cure for this new strand. Now, members of our health community and our scientists, they're working around the clock to bring this pandemic to a point where it is stabilizing and we're getting beyond this rising problem. But we're not there yet. We have a ways to go. And so I want to encourage each and every one of you to please take all of the precautions necessary. Right now in my household, what we're doing is we've set a can of Lysol outside of the door and one can inside. We're spraying the doorknobs inside and out. We're washing our hands more than we ever have for 20 seconds to get rid of this. And when we go out into the public, whenever we necessarily have to, we're using the goggles, the swimming goggles, and that helps to seal bacteria and viruses from getting into the eyes, because we talk a lot about washing hands, but we don't talk about all of the other ways that the virus can get inside of our bodies. It can get in through your eyes, it can get in through your nose, and it can get in through your mouth. So please, if you can get your hands on an N95 mask, do that. If you can get your hands on goggles, do that as well, and that will protect your eyes. We want to make sure that people are safe and that people have the most accurate information possible. Right now in this country, we have over 100,000 people that have been infected with this virus. And we have over 2,000 people that have already died. And so my heart goes out to all of the families that are experiencing this troubling time. We want to make sure that you understand that we are with you. Our prayers and our thoughts are with you. And that we are all in this together. Any one of us can be in that situation. And the thing of it is that if you are listening to certain networks that are trying to downplay this, please do not buy into the hype. This is real. This virus is literally affecting people every day, and the numbers are doubling. And in some places, the numbers of people that are affected are tripling. This is nothing to play around with, folks. Please take all of the necessary precautions. And this is one of the reasons why I'm running for office, because we have leaders that are literally trying to downplay this, which is putting people's lives at stake. We can do better than this, and it's going to happen when we take back these offices from leaders who have used them for personal gain, completely have forgotten about the constituents, completely forgotten about the residents and citizens of this country. We can do better than this, and we will do better than this in this election cycle. At this time, I want to go ahead and open up to people who might have questions. As I said earlier, some people have already sent in some questions, but we'll take some questions now. And I know right now we have one for Paul out of Charlotte County. Actually, Paul sent in about 3 questions. And he said, do you encourage folks to sign up for vote by mail? I absolutely encourage people to sign up to vote by mail, because in this day and time with the coronavirus looming the way that it is, we might not have a chance to go to the polls. We don't know if this virus is going to persist all the way to the primary, and Florida's primary is in August 18th. So this could persist all the way to August. And we want to make sure that if we do have to vote by mail, that people are ready. So our campaign is going to be encouraging people and educating people and letting people know that they need to vote by mail if that's possible. Congressional District 17 is quite large and very diverse. With that in mind, my question is, after speaking to thousands of voters, is there one issue that worries ordinary folks the most? Before the coronavirus issue came up, I would say that the most pressing issue in the District of 17 would be the environment, because in various parts of the district, we are experiencing environmental catastrophes. In Hardy County, where I'm from, we have Mosaic Mining Company. They are literally pouring thousands of tons of waste directly into Florida's aquifer. And I don't know if you realize this at home or not, but out of all the water in the world, and the earth is covered in 3/4 of water, only 1% of the water in the world is fresh drinking water. And some of that water we get from our aquifer. And when you have big billion-dollar companies literally pouring tons of their waste directly into our aquifer, it is affecting our future. It is negatively affecting our future. When you have Big Sugar and other industrialized companies pouring their waste directly into Lake Okeechobee, it becomes an environmental catastrophe. As I said earlier, Lake Okeechobee used to be a Florida marvel. Now it is considered pollution lake. And when you take an aerial view and look into Lake Okeechobee, you can literally see the pollution in the water. And some of that pollution is starting to go out into the river basins. Some of that pollution is starting to have negative effects on the wildlife. I've seen fish start to mutate because of the pollution in that lake and start to beach themselves. In Charlotte County, Sarasota County, residents have had to deal with the red tide issue. They've had to deal with the blue-green algae issue. It is literally affecting their lungs, their eyes, their breathing capabilities. And so whenever you have an administration and a congressman that represents the district, and they are literally placing no emphasis on fixing these issues. In fact, when I had a debate with the current congressman in 2008, he said that there is literally nothing that can be done because this is an all-natural occurrence. Well, I'm of the belief that there is a whole lot that can be done. Anytime you deny the fact that climate change exists, then you're also going to deny that it's having a negative effect on our environment. And I believe that climate change is having a direct effect on the blue-green algae and the red tide that is taking place in our district year in and year out. Yes, it's a natural occurrence, but I believe that bacteria can be fed through micronutrients from sludge. I believe that bacteria can be fed through heat, because you learn this in biology, that bacteria thrives in a warmer environment. And we know that climate change is real. Some people get climate change mixed up with weather. Just so you know, and you're listening at home, the difference between climate change and weather is what takes place from day to day. Climate is what takes place over a 30-year span. So whatever the climate or whatever the weather was 30 years ago, when you average it from 30 years to today, that's how you get what climate is. And for the last 30 years, every 10 years within that 30 years, our earth has gotten hotter and hotter, and it's because of the fuel emissions that is emitted into our atmosphere. We are having a really bad problem in the United States because of this. There is over 800,000 tons of raw sewage that is literally sweeping across America's streets. And if you didn't know this, in 1347, we had another environmental catastrophe called the bubonic plague, or the Black Death. Started off as an environmental catastrophe, waste being thrown onto the streets. But soon thereafter, that waste started to affect the vermin, and then the fleas on the vermin started to bite the humans, and that started to create a health crisis. That environmental catastrophe turned into a health crisis that literally killed a third of the world's population. It took 200 years to replenish that population in the earth. The last thing I would want to see happen again is our environment create a health problem very much like the one we're seeing with COVID-19. This is real, folks. We have to have leaders that understand science. We have to have leaders that have common sense. And we have to have leaders that is willing to put science above politics, science above parties, and see how the science affects the people to make sure that we are protecting our citizens, not working against them. Another question that was asked of Paul. He says, we live in very difficult times. Have you taken security precautions for yourself and for your team? Right now, we are taking every precaution necessary. We have stopped having physical meetings. We have stopped going to churches and campaigning. We have stopped going to clubs and campaigning. We have stopped going to committee meetings, knocking on doors. We've stopped the traditional things that campaigns usually do in order to reach constituents with the messages that we traditionally would use to reach. Now we are gone strictly digital, which is why we're having the virtual town hall meeting using the various platforms, whether it's Zoom or Facebook Live. And so we want to make sure that we are utilizing every possible digital platform, whether it's conference calls to handle our meetings now, virtual meeting rooms, GoToMeeting, Zoom, all of these other social platforms that we use to communicate. These are the things that we're doing because of where we are and how serious this COVID-19 situation is. And I see that we're experiencing some technical difficulties with the audio and Facebook. What we're going to do right now is I'm going to let you look at my face until my team can work on the audio. And I'm going to take me a little break, and I'll come back in about 45 seconds. How's that? Can everyone hear me okay? Can everyone hear? All right, thank you. So we have another question from Margaret Doyle. In light of this virus, what do you think about universal vote by mail? I think this is going to be a great option. It's probably going to be the only option, at least for the primary election, which is in August 18th. I'm really hoping that we are beyond this pandemic by November. But a lot of health professionals and scientists are saying that we might be right in the middle of things by August. So the vote by mail, the universal vote by mail, is definitely going to be a viable option to make sure that people get a chance to let their voices be heard. And on that issue of let your voices be heard, this is another reason why I'm running, because growing up in my community, most people in my community feel as if their voices have been forgotten about. Most people feel like their votes don't matter. And to be quite honest with you, in our district, most of their voices hasn't mattered. But I'm running today to let you know that your voice matters to me. Your vote matters to me. And if we're going to win this, it's going to take each and every one of us working together, getting out, voting, and getting other people registered to vote and inspiring them to vote. Part of my campaign is to go around to churches and various entities where traditional politicians haven't gone in the past. And I do this because I want people to understand that, look, I come from where most of you come from. You know, I grew up in a 3-bedroom trailer on a dirt road. I had 6 younger siblings. I know exactly what it means to make ends meet. My parents didn't have much. A lot of times we went to bed with no food to eat. You know, we grew up on welfare and food stamps. And so sometimes my parents had to make the hard decision on whether to pay the light bill or put food on the table. Sometimes we had to eat and the lights were off, so we ate by candlelight. These are the things that a lot of people in this district is faced with. And it's so unfortunate when we have leaders who run for office, but they have no idea what people are dealing with. There are people right now in Punta Gorda that literally need a place, an affordable place to live. Sometimes the rent is so high that it's impossible to have a savings. How can you save money when all of your money is going to the bare necessities? Which is why I believe in having a living wage. You know, growing up, my mother, she had 7 of us, and she had to try to raise 7 of us on minimum wage. Back then, minimum wage was $4.25. And I don't know about you, but it's pretty tough to try to raise 7 children on $4.25. Now it's a little bit more, but that's a slave wage where it is now. You know, one of the things that I do believe in is strengthening small businesses. So I know the argument about how increasing the minimum wage hurts small businesses. But there are ways to increase minimum wage while at the same time giving businesses the tax incentives and the other benefits to help them. One of the things that I want to be able to do is to streamline the Small Business Administration so that business owners can have direct access to get the funding that they need to grow their businesses, make sure they can hire more workers. Because when you have $2 billion going into the Small Business Administration literally every year, and small business owners are having a hard time getting access to those funds because they have so much paperwork and they have so many obstacles that it deters the average business owner from even trying to access those funds, then I say we have a problem. And I want to do something about that once I'm in Congress. We know that there are small businesses in this country, for the most part, that is stimulating this economy. And we want to do everything in our power to stimulate small business development. Over my life, I've helped to start over 300 businesses inside of the state of Florida. And I've helped to manage at least 90 of those businesses. And a lot of those businesses are doing very well today. As a member of Congress, we can do a whole lot more. And I want you to consider voting for me if you haven't already this election cycle. There's a lot that we can do, but it's going to take all of us working together because I can't do this alone. It's going to take a coalition. It's going to take partnership. Whenever I'm on the campaign trail, people ask me all the time, they say, Alan, what are some of your issues? And I think about that. And I say, you know what? That's a good question. I have a lot of issues, but it's really not about my issues. What it really is about, it's about your issues. And I'll tell you why. See, I'm a political scientist, and so it's my job to educate people about how government should work. We've gotten very accustomed to looking to the politicians to lead us on what should be best for us. But if I'm running for the United States House of Representatives, then that means that I'm looking to represent your interests and not my own. So I should be asking you, what are the issues that you care about? What are the issues that are impacting your world? And how can I be of service as a member of Congress to improve the quality of life for all of you? And so I want people to start taking a look at how they look and how they approach members of Congress, how they approach politicians, because I want to be different. I don't want to be the one that get up and talk about I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. I want to be the one that actually does it because I have a very firm understanding of the issues that are negatively affecting you. Okay, so I have another comment by Mr. Gary Wine, and he's saying that I am concerned that the waste stacks in the phosphate processing plants will fail and kill the harbor. These wastes are radioactive with uranium and radon. Major incident has happened in the past and killed the bay for an extended time. Mr. Wine, thank you very much for your comment. It is a situation that I've been following for quite some time. As I said earlier, I worked as a barber in Polk County for 10 years. And at the time, the mining company was very prevalent in Polk County. They created a lot of jobs. But one of the things that they were doing was when they were digging in the ground, they were pulling a lot of radon up, and it was having a very negative effect on the population in the surrounding communities. And so, it was one of those things where residents were debating on whether or not, or they were weighing out the benefit versus the threat. And so when you're dealing with major entities like that, they do a lot of job creation. But I am now under the mindset that job creation is nothing when the job creator is literally killing people. And if not killing people, giving them increased rates of cancer. I know in Hardy County, the brain cancer has significantly gone up because of the radon that is coming out of the ground. I know that in Polk County, when the mining industrial complex was extremely high, so was the cancer rates. This is something that our current congressman won't talk about because he takes money from the mining industry. I can talk about it because I don't take money from the mining industry. And if you want to really be able to make impact, if you want to be able to write policy that can change how these mining companies are operating, then you can't take their money. And I don't plan on taking their money so that I can be able to write policy that can rectify these issues. Now, the only other federal agency that could do something about this would be the EPA. But that's also why our current congressman is trying to get rid of the EPA, because this is something that they would actually go after and make sure that our environment as well as our citizens are protected from. So, Mr. Wine, thank you very much for your comments. We really do appreciate that. We're going to take more questions from the audience. Okay, so if you can, please send your questions in through the text platform there on Facebook. So another question that just came in was about the babies that are living in cages. This is an issue that is very near and dear to me. As I said earlier, when I was watching my daughter, who's 9, going on 32, by the way, when I was watching her during Christmas, I remember thinking about this issue of children living in cages away from their parents. This is such a bad issue because whenever you think about these children from the standpoint of it being someone else, it's very easy to just dismiss this issue. But if you can just imagine for a second that this is your child and this is your family being torn apart in this situation, if you can just imagine that for a second, what would you do? A lot of these families have come to America looking for a better life. Some of these families have come here trying to escape poverty. Some of these families have come here trying to escape gang problems. Some of them have come here trying to escape human trafficking, rape, and all sorts of negative problems. I'm a firm believer that when you live in a country that has been afforded the resources that America has been afforded, I don't believe that we have that by accident. I believe that it is our moral responsibility to look out for those who are less fortunate. I believe that we are the beacon of light on the hill. I believe that is where we belong because we've been afforded those resources to be able to help others. And if you are a Christian, then you know that what I am saying is biblical. God only blesses a nation to be a blessing to others. I believe in building bridges. I don't think that we need more walls. You know, the only structure made on this earth that you can literally see from the moon, the only man-made object, is the Great Wall of China. It took the Chinese 100 years to build that wall. And the very minute it was complete, they realized that it was not working because people literally were climbing over it. So I don't know how people have gotten so brainwashed, or maybe it's a personal bias of isolationism or segregation or whatever ism it is. But I just don't understand how people can become so cold in their heart to think that we should be building walls to keep people out when they are literally struggling to have a better life and they're coming here to do so. So to the question of what do I think about the babies living in cages, you know, I think it's harsh. I think it's immoral. But to a bigger picture, I think to separate families in the way that our country is doing, we definitely need to do something different here. And we need leadership to have a heart, to find the humanity, to look deep within themselves, to look in the eyes of their family and say, do you want your family experiencing something like this? And if the answer is no, then act and do something to bring families back together. We're going to take another question. The question is, what would you advise Governor DeSantis to do to prevent the spread of the virus in Florida? I would ask Governor DeSantis to make it mandatory that any manufacturers that are here in Florida that have the capability of producing PPE equipment to expedite such equipment so that the health professionals that are on the front lines can make sure that they have everything they need to help slow the virus down. I would ask Governor DeSantis to make sure that the beaches are closed down, because that is a breeding ground for people to come in and get together and just, transmit the virus that way. I would make sure that people are understanding that in these churches, because I know churches, I've seen people go to church Sunday, and it was very scary that the churches are being shut down. I think one church pastor just got arrested because of what's going on. But I think that there needs to be more enforcement. But I think the governor needs to take this a little bit more serious as well, because I feel like he's pandering a little bit to the president. And I think the president needs to step outside of himself and understand that this is not about his campaign. This is not about ratings. This is not about how it makes him look. This is about the lives of real people and how they are being impacted, how they are literally losing their lives because of how they are downplaying the seriousness of this pandemic. And so I want to encourage each and every one of you to sign the petitions. There are petitions that are literally going around. We're going to be putting some petitions up on our Facebook page at Alan Ellison for Congress to not only get the governor to shut down these beaches, but also to work with us candidates, because there are a lot of candidates who were depending on the petitions to be able to get on the ballot. In some districts, there people have to get as much as 9,000 petitions signed just to get their name on the ballot. And because we're not able to go out and canvass and meet people face to face, it has really placed a burden on a lot of candidates across the state and their ability to get the petitions necessary to get their names on the ballot. The only other way for a candidate to get their name on the ballot is to pay a ballot fee, which is something that I'm not very fond of, because I believe that in my case, my ballot fee is $10,440 just to get my name on the ballot. And in a lot of cases in Florida, it is set up that way to keep a lot of people that look like you and me, that come from where we come from, that could truly represent our interests. It keeps a lot of us from being able to get on the ballot, and it hurts the opportunity for people to have representation that understands where people come from and how they live. And I'm a firm believer of this. If you don't know where I come from, if you don't know what I am going through, if you don't know the issues that impact me, then how can you truly represent my interests? And so that's what's been going on here in Florida. So there's petitions that are going around. There's letters of support that are literally going out directly to the governor. We need for him to stop playing politics, take these issues very seriously, and do everything necessary to protect and keep the citizens of this great state safe. I have another question here. I actually have three of them. So one is from Mary out of Charlotte County. In 2018, so many Democrats didn't know you. How do we get the word out? Greg Stubbe sends weekly mail updates. Okay, so for everyone that is watching this virtual town hall, one of the ways you can get the word out about Alan Ellison and our campaign for improving the quality of life for everyone is to visit our website, go to our issues section, read our issues, learn as much as you can about why we and why this campaign is the campaign that is looking out for the people. once you understand who we are and what we are about, then I want to encourage each and every one of you to utilize every technical platform that you have. And you have a lot, whether you know it or not. You have a Facebook page. We want to encourage you to change your Facebook profile photo to include our frame that says that I'm voting for Alan Ellison. You can do that by clicking on edit your profile photo and choosing the frame section and searching for Alan Ellison. Our frames will come up. We want to ask that you go ahead and change your frames to make sure that your friends in your world know that you're voting for Alan Ellison. Once you also understand the issues, we want to ask that you utilize your phone. Send out text messages to all of the people in your contacts. Send them our website link. Show them our Facebook page. We're on all of the social media platforms. We're on Instagram. We're on Twitter. We're on Facebook. And we literally have a Facebook page for every county in the district. So if you're in Polk County, find Polk County for Alan Ellison. If you're in Charlotte County, find Charlotte County for Alan Ellison on Facebook. If you're in Lee County, find Lee County. If you're in Hardy, find Hardy. If you're in Highlands County, find Highlands County. If you're in Sarasota, Glade, Charlotte, and Okeechobee, find your counties on Facebook and join in the conversation. We want to make sure that you are utilizing your email database, your phone's database, your social media database. And if you go to the grocery store or anywhere else, make sure that you are staying safe, but also mention that there is a candidate in District 17 that is looking to represent your interests in a way that no other congressional member has. We have a question from Vielka. Alan, what message or your thoughts on ICE still targeting undocumented immigrants, etc., and detaining them, separating families and deporting them in general, and now during the pandemic? I think right now, I think that our resources should be spent on making sure that we have the proper gear for our healthcare workers. I think that our resources should be spent on making sure that we have, N95 masks, sanitizers, and various equipment that we need to bring this pandemic down. I think that we should put more resources towards scientific research companies to help expedite a vaccine so that we can have the vaccine to fight this pandemic. Right now is not the time to start targeting undocumented workers. I think that our priorities in this country are extremely off basis. We need to do the things that is necessary right now. And right now, targeting undocumented workers because they're trying to get a better life is not where we need to be right now. We have more things that are more important, more pressing issues. I was looking at some stats the other day, and I was thinking about, with all of the hundreds of thousands of people that will be affected, if not millions of people, we have only a fraction of healthcare workers that are literally on the front lines trying to fight this war. And most of them do not have the proper equipment. It is very scary because my wife is a physician, and I fear that when she is at work, that she is vulnerable to contracting the virus and bringing that back home to our family. And so this is something that a lot of families are faced with. A lot of families here in Highlands County, we have a very large nurse population here. It is very unfortunate that nurses are having to turn to makeshift masks. Some of them probably are not at the level where they can protect them against the coronavirus, but they're doing whatever they can do because we don't have the necessary equipment in place. And I believe it was the last administration that created a national pandemic task force. But 2 years ago, that task force was disbanded. And 2 years later, 2020, we are faced with something that most people have never seen, and we are not prepared for it. This is really the test of why leadership, true leadership, is so important. Sometimes we can get so caught up in looking at all of the surface issues and surface things about leaders that we forget to understand that real issues will come up. And if we don't have real leaders, then it will expose our weaknesses. And so I want you to keep that in mind this election cycle, because these issues are going to come up and people are going to need to know that we have elected leadership that truly cares about the people, that truly understands science, not fake like they do, but truly understands science. That's why intelligence is such a rare commodity, because when you don't understand something and you fake like you do, and I just want you to just take this for example. Have you ever been in front of a doctor and the doctor was telling you something and it was literally talking over your head and you faked like you understood when the reality was you didn't? This is where we are right now. We have people that are professionals that are talking to leadership, and leadership simply does not understand what we are faced with. And when you don't understand what we're faced with, how do you properly articulate the problem? You can't. That's why there's so much confusion in America right now. Every single day I'm hearing somebody tell me that this virus is an overblown media spin. And I'm thinking, people are dying. How could this be overblown? More people will die. This is a very unfortunate time that we're in right now. And I just wish people would wake up and understand that we could be doing a whole lot more if we only understood the science. Here's a question.
Hi,
Yes. How are you doing?
Gary Y.
Hi, Gary.
So, my question is, I'm politically very concerned that it's past time for us baby boomers to cling to high political powers. For example, this year, whoever's elected president is going to be an old white guy. I'd like to know, what can we do, or what can we do as a country to get more younger, imaginative leaders to step up? Obviously, you're one of those. But how do we do that? And I'm not talking about the cookie cutters such as Eric Stubbe who follow lockstep. I'm talking about people that are willing to get out of the box, willing to put themselves out front the way you have.
I graduated in 2007 with my degree in political science. And at the time I graduated, out of 3,000 graduates, I was the only political science major. Since then, I have seen an emergence of new political leaders that are starting to rise up. I believe that probably in the next 3 to 5 years, we're going to start to see a lot of young leaders that are coming up. And you look at the Parkland shooting and how those young leaders rose up through social media. It was a beautiful thing out of a crisis situation that took place. It was amazing to see how they were able to mobilize themselves using the power of social media. When I look at my daughter who's 9 years old, and I say she's going on 32 because she's always trying to tell me what to do as if she's my mother or whatever. But when I think about her age demographic and how homogenous her age demographic is, in just 9 years from now, she'll be turning 18 and she'll be of the age to vote. I'm very optimistic that in her age demographic, we're going to see a very diverse, a very homogenous group of young people that will step up and start to run for office. I'm really excited about it because they're going to be the most diverse and they're going to be the most homogenous group of Americans that this country has ever seen. They're going to think more alike than any generation before them. So Gary, just hold tight. You're going to see a major change in this country in a very short while.
Well, thank you. I now have to look forward to living long enough to see my grandchildren get to that age.
Absolutely. Thank you for your question. Helen Pierce asked, she said, what are your plans for better paying jobs around Highlands County and District 17? You know, as a congressman, I could recruit jobs from, companies that are not necessarily from here to come to the district. But some of the jobs that could come that could pay better might be jobs that the labor force isn't ready for. So one of the ways that you prepare people for jobs that will come, or jobs that I will try to get to come here, is to work with the college and university system to make sure that there is curriculum in place to train future workers for these future jobs. The other thing that I was talking about earlier is I'm a very strong proponent of job creation through business development. I want to see that anybody that even remotely think that they want to start a business have every resource made available to them so that they can start a business. As I said earlier, the SBA gets $2 billion a year in taxpayer funds to relend to small business owners. But most of those small business owners are not applying for those funds because the paperwork is too strenuous and it's too daunting of a task to get through the paperwork. So one of the things that I want to do as congressman is reduce the paperwork and streamline the process so that Small Business Administration can begin to help more small business owners get access to the funds so that they can start businesses and help grow their businesses by hiring more workers and getting the equipment that they need, the office space that they need, and so on and so forth. So that's one of the strategies that I want to be able to utilize to stimulate not only job development in this district and the state, but also business development. And I think that we can do a lot through business because everyone knows that it's small businesses that drive our economy. So we want to do everything that we can to help businesses in this district. Do we have any more questions coming in? Well, it is 9:08. I just want to thank everyone for tuning in to this live town hall meeting. This is the first one of many to come. We're going to start having these town hall meetings every week, but they're going to be a little bit different than the one like tonight. This one tonight was about highlighting all of the issues at once in a very overview-like way. But we're going to go into these issues in a deeper format, town hall by town hall. So I believe the next town hall meeting that we're going to have is going to be on, coronavirus, or it may be Veterans Affairs, but I'll have to get back to you. But the next one is going to be solely focused around one issue, and we're going to have experts that are going to come on with me, and we're going to have dialogue about all of the issues. But like I said, one issue at a time per town hall meeting. so that we can really get into the nuts and bolts of the issues, how they affect you at home, and how policy can affect those issues which will affect you. So we want to thank you for tuning in to this live broadcast. We've been on for an hour. I'm going to have me something to drink out of my New Path Forward cup. I hope you all like it. You can get it if you want to at ellisonforcongress.com. Our team has done a very good job of designing this stuff. It also helps the campaign to raise money so that we can further our message in this new age of campaigning virtually. Also, I want you all to stay safe. Please get you some Lysol, spray your doorknobs down, get the swim goggles so that if you go outside, the swim goggles will literally protect your eyes from virus or COVID-19 getting into your eyes. If you don't have any N95 masks, then just stay at home. Practice social distancing, because we want to make sure that you're not only keeping yourself safe, but we want to make sure that you're not a carrier and infecting someone else who may not be as strong as you and ultimately could end their lives. So I want to thank each and every one of you for taking the time. Please visit our website. Consider making a contribution at ellisonforcongress.com. I can't do this without you. It takes all of you. I've never held office before, but I do have a heart for people. I do have some ideas. We're not going to agree on every issue, but I'm pretty sure there are a lot of issues that we can agree on and things that we can work towards. I'm a firm believer that we shouldn't be looking for differences. We should be looking for the common threads that bind us together and utilize that as a platform to move forward. This campaign is all about improving the quality of life for all of us, not just a select few. And when we get on that page together, this is how we move and chart a new path forward. I'm Alan Ellison. This is my story. This is our virtual town hall meeting, and I approve this message. Thank you all very much.